With this one-time coward now not being one, what can Frost do to try and make this timeline better? Hey folks, MasakoX here. Sometimes we like to think of characters who might have had the chance to do some good for the story, try and take a different spin on a steadfast archetype, like Freeza, and breathe new life into it with the opportunities that Universe 6 had in store for it. Only for it to mean practically nothing and us not looking like we're going to see anything more from Universe 6 anytime soon. Seriously, there's been no reference to them in the manga since the tournament. Like, literally nothing. It's all been about Universe 7 again. But here, it isn't. Today, we are seeing what could have happened had Frost's original perception of him been more accurate. In a place where he wasn't a jerk. Oh, how good that would have been. In the last part, Frost and Kaba, his buddy cop friend, are electing to help Goku and Vegeta with the mission to go to the future and help them out against the terror and perils of Goku Black. The Iceling had his doubts about whether he could do actually any good for the team, but Goku and Kaba believed in him, and it turned out he was much more useful than he gave himself credit for. It even gets to the point where Vegeta is even allowing Frost to join his training sessions, but still being a little wary about what he might do, but hey, it's progress, yeah? However, there is a callback to Frost's past in Universe 6, when Haru and Maki, those are the two Kiddywinks from Trunks' timeline, look to Frost for help, and he reverts back to his old-time ways of being the hero and putting on an act, assuring them that they would win out ultimately. Be that as it may, the reality is a lot more stark than he had thought. It leads to Frost electing to stay behind, buying the gang some time to head back to the past and regroup. This act of bravery does get noted by the prince, but it's mostly for show, as Frost is actually terrified. Is he actually going to fight? Or is this mostly going to be a game of cat and mouse? Let's resume. Once the time machine, the link to safety of the past, was gone, Frost was all alone. For him, ironically, time stood still. All that mattered right now was one thing: run. It was the same for many days. In fact, Frost couldn't remember exactly how long he had managed to hide from Zamasu and Goku Black. Could have been days, could have been weeks. He had no real idea. The only good thing to come out of it was his own sense of confidence. The natural resilience of his species had been put to the test, and he had come out on top. It reminded him actually of one particular mission, similar actually, where there was a stakeout, and he had managed to last a couple of weeks without food, starving out his enemies, and then going in for the win. He didn't enjoy it though, because, he liked food. And this exercise had the added risk of being, well, killed. Another thing in his favour that he had garnered from being here was that he knew that he could hold the enemy's attention only for so long. In the end, they would get bored and go back to their cave or whatever they called home. Granted, that would have been good for him, so he wouldn't be chased anymore, but it wouldn't be so good for any remaining humans. What was even more irritating than the stalemate of the situation right now was the fact that Goku Black had a few tricks up his sleeve to spook Frost out of hiding, and he resorted to them now. They had sussed him out and found there was an element of fear within Frost, and Black was able to create several shadowy clones that could pursue him now from different angles. One small mistake, and he would be theirs for the picking. Sure, Frost was powerful enough to destroy these, they were nowhere near as strong as the real deal, but that only increased the advantage his enemies had over him, especially with how strong they were. With just sending clone after clone, they could whittle down his stamina. Not even he could keep up the constant disappearing act. Frost began to feel the bite. Finally, after many weeks, his strength had started to wear thin, and as such, is set upon by Zamasu and Black, who catch up with him. Frost's tail had whipped around the corner, and they spotted it. He had hoped he had done enough to live for another day, but it wasn't to be. Instead, he ran straight into a green, grey-suited Kai, who looked down at him with a look of both satisfaction and pity. My, what an annoying little thing you are, and yet rather curious, uttered Zamasu, as Black grabs Frost by his arm. Frost looks behind at Black, who has an evil grin. This capture was very satisfying to him. You have no idea how long I've waited for this moment. You almost topped Trunks in terms of entertainment for us. Our hero doesn't have much power left in him to so much as wriggle out of this grip. He could barely resist the grab being tightened further, and then something else puts pay to his attempt of flight. He could feel something that resembled a keyblade being slowly but surely shoved into his back. It was searing pain. He had once felt something similar before in a mission, but that paled in comparison to this. Not only was the actor being pierced unbearable, the key itself felt like it was enjoying the thought of searing flesh, inflicting agony upon its target. Zamasu then became circumspect, longing to ask one of these newcomers this, and now he had one of them at his mercy, the opportunity arose. I have been wondering, why did you come here? This isn't your timeline. This isn't even your universe. Why are you so unbearably persistent and desperate to save this realm? Frost only turns around to spit some blood in Zamasu's face. He grimaced and slapped Frost, but in a short moment, a smile which reeked of slight understanding slowly crawls upon his face. Zamasu looked immensely thrilled. Atonement. That's what this is about, isn't it? You're here to atone for past acts. You must have done something really bad to have dipped your toes into this fight, yes? The silence spoke volumes. I thought as much, as it should be expected from a mortal lowlife such as yourself. Black, let's dismember this annoyance. Slowly. He has been messing with our affairs for way too long. So let's make his torture way too long. Black laughed and slipped out the keyblade from Frost's back and moved it elsewhere. And as Black was preparing his keyblade to slice Frost's arm clean off, something happened which put pay to that. A gunshot broke the silence. In a split second, an energy bullet pierced Black's arm. It wasn't enough to do serious harm, but the sheer shock tactic and off-guard moment, like we see with Goku at the beginning of the Universe Survival arc, made it so Black let out a scream of slight pain. But it gave Frost enough time to slip out of his grip, finding cover. What followed was then a storm of ki blasts, which started to drown Zamasu and Black in pure light. Frost lunged out of his cover to get a look at who had helped him. He then sensed their energy. Took you long enough, Frost smirked at Goku, Vegeta, Kaba, Trunks and Mai, who had indeed returned for him. Revitalized and more battle-ready than ever. Kaba flew over toward his friend and offered him an arm. Frost, are you alright? No, some no good pseudo-deities are not enough to hold me back. I gave them the runaround all this time. Vegeta looked disappointed. You chose to hide rather than fight. That's not what I trained you to do, Frost. Frost had noticed that he was getting a pretty stern look from Vegeta, but after a while, the Saiyan Prince nodded and backed down. But still, not bad. You managed to survive. We'll take it from here. Did he just get a compliment? From Vegeta of all people? Oh, that must have been some good rest he had gotten. Frost could do with some of that right now, he thought. Another thought that flew through his mind right now was that he was slowly weakening. His body had given all that it could have done, and now he needed rest, badly. But as he did so, he observed through sensing it the gains his friends had gotten in this time. They hadn't been dawdling. Even he could see how Black and Zamasu were starting to get dominated. This boded well for the future. Maybe this won't take too long after all, and they can all go home. Trunks and Mai now safe from this temporal menace. Kaba then approached him and gave him a weird bean. Frost was confused as to why he was given just one solitary bean instead of perhaps, I don't know, a tin of them? Apparently, this singular legume was supposed to revitalize him. He was pretty skeptical about this though, but he quickly realized that this thing was truly special. In just seconds, he was back to full strength, his scuffs and cuts all healed. Even the wound on his back was gone. He didn't even feel tired anymore. It was like he'd gotten off of the time machine with the rest of the crew. The last few weeks never have happened, and wow! And on top of all that, the Supreme Kais of Universes 7 and 10 had appeared to witness their struggle. And for a good while, it seemed as if all of this could be over in a matter of minutes. But little did they know that Zamasu and Black had their final ace up their sleeve. They also used those weird earrings to fuse into a singular being. Said being was powerful, not just powerful in conventional terms. This was now like fighting a true god. The halo behind them was blinding, and the aura they were emanating was that of utter brilliance. It was terrifying just to look at them. This leap in power was also enough to dominate all three fighters, and even Cabra and Frost, when they entered the fray, could not change anything in terms of the outcome, bringing the fight back into their favour. But to even the odds a little bit, Goasu offers his set of earrings to Goku and Vegeta, and thusly, Vegito Blue is born. Despite not wearing the same clothes as Vegeta was wearing just now, I'm like, Busaka, how does that even work? Frost marvels at the power of the fused warrior, though he is made aware that this would only last for 1 hour. Well, hopefully 1 hour would be enough, right? This act of fusion got another Saiyan's mind buzzing. Just imagine it, Frost! What we could do if we fused! Wouldn't that be cool? Cabra exclaimed. Frost rolled his eyes. Yeah, as if that was about to happen. What kind of creature would be born from that combination? Something he didn't wish to speculate about any further at the moment. The pressure that Vegeta put on fused Zamasu starts to show his imperfections, as the monstrosity slowly becomes less stable, starting to corrupt thanks to Black's mortality, ironically. Sadly though, when they're about to finish him off, Vegito defuses, as they've used all the power up, in just 7 minutes instead of an hour. This now leaves Zamasu victorious in that struggle. So Cabra and Frost decide to approach Trunks, saying that his sword had been broken due to the previous confrontations with the nefarious duo. Are you alright? Our protagonist eyes the time traveller. Trunks was starting to lose hope about the whole situation. Even that fusion thing didn't work the way it was supposed to. I don't know how much longer I can go on. If Father and Goku could not take him down, I'm unsure what can. He's weakening. Can't you see it? This isn't his world. And besides, this is your future, not his. We believe in you and are right behind you, Trunks, Frost exclaimed. The son of Vegeta doubted himself a little bit, but seeing all the faith that his friends from Universe 6 had for him, as well as the effort that his father and Goku had put into the battle, defending his future, even though they actually didn't have to, technically, Trunks knew he had to deliver. It seemed rather bleak initially, but in the end, future Trunks is the one to ultimately save the day with a spirit sword. Having his father and friends believe in him, he delivers the blow that slices fused Zamasu in half. The sight of seeing this rather irritating enemy being eviscerated in such a manner gave off something which was pure catharsis. But it's just not over. Zamasu's influence starts to destroy the timeline and consume everything. As if a god had been bad enough, this thing had now become reality itself and was starting to break it down piece by piece. How is that even possible? What are we going to do now? How can we fight this thing? Frost is absolutely shocked by their inability to eliminate this threat. But Goku had one more trick. He pressed the Zeno button. But should he have did that? The Omni King now appears in order to destroy the remnant of the evildoer. But this isn't the same Zeno that Goku had befriended back at the Universe 6 contest. This Zeno had no connection to him whatsoever. So he went on to destroy Zamasu along with the timeline. So that was it. They won. But at what cost? Frost remembered Haru and Maki. Them, along with every other mortal from this world, were gone. But he dared not oppose the Omni King. He had heard the gods discussing putting Trunks and Mai then into a twin future, a place where there were two of them, and they would have to just deal with it. Some kind of plan. This was just unfair. It was outrageous. How, after everything those two had been through, what they got for all their hard work was them being put simply into a copy of their own existence? There had to be another way. I have another idea, Frost interrupted Whis. Oh? Do tell us. I'm open to ideas. We could perhaps gather the Super Dragon Balls and maybe ask Super Shenron to restore their timeline. It can't be worse than what Zamasu had done with them. Beerus snarled at Frost. And who's going to translate your wish for you, Frieza wannabe? Our hero looked as stern as ever. Lord Beerus, with all due respect, Mr. Trunks has shown resilience and has stopped Zamasu from doing even bigger damage to the multiverse. Besides, it was the Kai who broke the rules, not him. Beerus seemed unconvinced. Still, it wouldn't have happened if he hadn't decided to play with the timelines like that. Actually, it would, Lord Beerus. I see Frost's point. If we could hope for some treats from Universe 6, perhaps, I could be of some assistance. Trunks and Mai looked at Frost, shocked. You would do that for us? Frost shrugged. That's what we do. Help each other out. And so, the search for the Super Dragon Ball started. Frost wanted to start in Universe 7 as they were already there. He also knew that his return to Universe 6 could be the point of no return for him, due to him having, obviously, the past to deal with. He might not be allowed to return, his freedom being curtailed, and him being chased to the ends of the galaxy by his old foes. He wasn't ready, but he realized that Trunks, Mai, and everyone destroyed by Zamasu were more important right now than him dealing with his past mess. And besides, after that wild chase that Black and Zamasu had just given him, he got really tired of running. And that's where we're going to be leaving things for right now. So what do you folks think? Do you feel that Frost will ultimately go up against Hit and put paid to his demons? What exactly will the wish be on Super Shenron? Leave a comment below and let's get this discussion going. And I will see you in the next video. Catch you later!